My grandma was terminally ill. The doctor said she had at most 3 months to live. She'd heard that eating a hedgehog's heart raw could cure her illness completely. So, my dad and my uncle painstakingly searched everywhere for hedgehogs to catch. In the end, my uncle was found hanged, and my dad broke his leg. While keeping vigil for my uncle, a woman appeared that night and told me to run. My grandma was over 80 years old. The slightest excitement would make her heart pound, feeling like it would jump out of her throat. My dad invited a retired traditional Chinese medicine doctor from a big city hospital to examine grandma. After taking her pulse, the old doctor pulled my dad aside. "Your mother is nearing her end. She has about 3 months left," he said, shaking his head as he left. "You should prepare yourselves." But grandma overheard the doctor's words. She started berating my dad. "I guess I raised you for nothing. You can't wait for me to join your dead father. You're so stingy you won't even spend money to get me treatment. You just want me to die." Grandma cried hysterically, hitting my dad frantically. I quickly curled up in a corner, terrified of being caught in the crossfire. "Mom, it's not like that." "Not at all," my dad pleaded, kneeling and grabbing grandma's flailing hands. "Mom, don't worry. Your son will sell everything we own to cure your illness." My dad swore to grandma that he would do everything to save her. It took a great deal of effort to calm her down. She then turned and saw me curled in the corner. Immediately, she snapped, "You cursed girl, why aren't you cooking for grandma? What are you doing hiding here? You jinx." My dad picked me up like a little chick and threw me out the door. I got up, dusted myself off, and hurried to the kitchen to cook. While cooking, I secretly felt lucky that I hadn't been hit. My name is Jowdy, which means attracting a younger brother. From my name, you can tell our family favored boys. Grandma told me that my mother died in childbirth when I was 3, trying to have a son. For all these years, our family was too poor for my dad to remarry. As my uncle approached marriageable age, my dad, an older bachelor, had even less chance of finding a wife. From the moment I could work, I did all the chores around the house. I wasn't allowed to eat at the table, and if I didn't do something to their liking, I'd get a beating. I often went hungry. After grandma found out she only had 3 months to live, her spirit withered. She stopped eating and drinking, until one day, grandma, who was usually bedridden, went out early in the morning. She came back beaming and told me to kill our only old hen. She said she had been too weak and needed to replenish herself. I didn't dare delay and immediately went to catch the chicken. Grandma, meanwhile, went mysteriously into the house, carrying a cloth bundle. It looked like something was moving inside. Curious, I secretly peeked under the window to see what grandma was hiding. I saw grandma place the bundle on the table and start searching the room. Just then, my uncle came in. Seeing grandma rummaging around, he asked, "Mom, what are you looking for?" "Found it," grandma exclaimed, pulling a rusty knife from the corner of the wall. "Help your mother sharpen this knife," she instructed. My uncle, though confused about why she needed a sharpened knife, didn't ask further and quickly sharpened it. "Mom, what do you need this knife for?" he asked, handing it to her. "You'll see in a moment," grandma said mysteriously, opening the cloth bundle on the table. Inside was a live hedgehog. "Mom, why did you catch a hedgehog?" "Your mother found a folk remedy," grandma explained. "Eating a hedgehog's heart raw can cure my illness." "Really, Mom? That's great. I'll help you cut out the heart." My uncle took the knife from grandma and, in no time, skinned the hedgehog. The hedgehog screamed like a child, but my uncle and grandma's faces remained calm. They handled it like dough on a cutting board. Soon, the hedgehog was disemboweled, revealing its steaming, beating heart. Grandma's eyes gleamed at the fresh heart, as if it wasn't a hedgehog but a miraculous elixir. Grandma yanked out the hedgehog's heart. As it was pulled out, blood spurted everywhere, splashing her face. She didn't bother to wipe the blood away, throwing her head back and swallowing it whole. Seeing this gruesome scene, my stomach churned, and I ran to the chicken coop to vomit. At dinner, whether it was my imagination or not, grandma seemed different from usual, and the way she looked at me had changed. She even uncharacteristically gave me an egg. The last time I ate an egg was years ago. I'd almost forgotten what it tasted like. I clutched it like a treasure, planning to savor it. Grandma looked at me with disdain, rolling her eyes. "Such a country bumpkin," she sneered. Then she went into the kitchen and brought out a bowl of white, soupy liquid. "You're so skinny, all skin and bones," she said, handing it to me. "Drink this soup to nourish yourself." I had been in the kitchen. "When did grandma make this?" Grandma, what is this? I asked. Stop with the nonsense, just drink it, she snapped. Yes, Joudy, be a good girl, my uncle chimed in, a wicked smile on his face. Your grandma cares about you so much, she made this just for you to drink. But the soup had a layer of oil floating on top and smelled fishy. It was truly hard to swallow. You stubborn girl, if your grandma tells you to drink it, you drink it. My dad, head down, smoking his pipe, didn't even glance at me as he coldly ordered me. I forced myself to drink it. That whole night, my stomach churned, and I threw up so much I felt like I'd lost all my bile. I finally made it to dawn and crawled out of bed to make breakfast for the family. It was foggy, with visibility less than 15 feet. I went out to get firewood for cooking and vaguely saw my uncle. Usually, he wouldn't get out of bed until the sun was high. Why was he up so early today? Uncle? Uncle? I called out loudly, but he seemed not to hear me, disappearing quickly into the fog. After making breakfast, I told Grandma about seeing Uncle that morning. My Shanzi is truly filial, Grandma praised him, pointing her finger at my dad's head. He went out early to help me find medicine. Unlike you, you just want your mother to die, you ungrateful beast. After being scolded by Grandma, my dad was naturally in a bad mood. He looked up and glared at me. I knew this meant a beating was coming, so I quickly gobbled down a few mouthfuls of rice porridge, slung my basket over my back, and went out to gather pig feed. It was almost noon. My stomach had been grumbling for a while because I hadn't eaten enough that morning. Fearing a beating, I felt the precious egg in my pocket. I didn't want to eat it, but I was so hungry. After much deliberation, I decided to find a nice spot to enjoy this delicacy. So, I found a high place and sat on a square rock. This spot was perfect. I could see our entire village. I carefully took the egg out of my pocket, peeled it, and was about to take a bite when I heard a faint, eerie child's cry. Who's there? I followed the sound, pushing aside the tall grass. I screamed and immediately fell to the ground. The grass was so tall I hadn't realized the spot was an old grave. I had been sitting on someone's tombstone. Forgive me, immortals, forgive me. I quickly knelt and kowtowed, begging for forgiveness. Who's blaming you, little girl? A faint old woman's voice suddenly said. I shrieked. Are you a human or a ghost? Nonsense, do I look like a ghost? She replied. Besides, what ghost would come out in broad daylight? Thinking about it, I wasn't so scared anymore. I looked up and saw an old woman dressed in ragged, dirty clothes. She spoke weakly, as if she hadn't eaten a full meal in a long time. I looked down at the egg in my hand, then back at her. Finally, I decided to give her the egg. Though I couldn't remember what an egg tasted like, I could at least get a decent meal. Here, eat this, I said, putting the egg in her hand. If you don't eat something, you'll starve to death. I swallowed, watching her eat it. Little girl, you're so kind, she said between bites. What a pity. Remember this, don't trust anyone's words. With that, she vanished like a gust of wind. Just a moment ago, she looked half dead, but now her legs were so good. You just wanted to trick me out of my egg, I yelled, stomping my feet at her retreating back. It was almost noon, so I slung my basket over my back and hurried home. If I was late for Grandma's meal, I'd definitely get another beating. As I nervously entered the house, expecting a harsh scolding, Grandma came out of the kitchen with stir-fried dishes. Joudy, you're back. Come, food's ready. Eat quickly. Seeing Grandma's beaming face, I was a bit incredulous. I'm sorry, Grandma, I came back late today, I stammered, apologizing awkwardly. It's fine. Quickly drink your soup, Grandma said, smiling as she handed me a bowl of soup. Seeing the soup, my appetite for rice vanished. There was no way out. Under Grandma's threats and my dad's deadly glares, I forced myself to drink it. Strangely, this time, perhaps I was getting used to it. The soup wasn't as hard to swallow, but I still didn't have much of an appetite. After serving Grandma her meal, I returned to my room, feeling utterly drained. I collapsed and didn't want to get up. I woke up at dusk. Grandma said Uncle hadn't returned all day. My dad had gone out to look for him, and he hadn't returned either, even though it was dark now. I went into the house to get a flashlight, preparing to go look for my dad and uncle, but Grandma stopped me. You're just a little girl, don't cause more trouble, she said. It's not safe in the mountains at night. I've already sent the village head with people to search. You just stay home and keep Grandma company. I feel at ease with you here. Saying this, Grandma grabbed my hand, as if afraid I'd go out. At that moment, I felt touched. The old woman who was usually so fierce with me actually cared about me. We, grandmother and granddaughter, waited in the main hall. I was starting to doze off, but Grandma kept holding my hand. I had no choice but to lean against her and doze for a bit, until I was woken by a clamor. I realized Grandma wasn't in the room anymore. Outside, it was brightly lit, and people from the village were constantly coming and going. I walked out and saw a mourning hall set up in the yard. Who died? I wondered. Didn't Grandma say she had 3 months left? I ran to the coffin and looked inside. Lying in the coffin was my uncle. His face was purplish blue, his eyeballs protruded, his tongue was sticking out, and there was a very clear ligature mark around his neck. It was my first time seeing a dead person, and I screamed, "Little girl, why are you here?" The village head pulled me aside. "Don't you want to see your dad instead of bothering us here?" "Uncle, what happened to my uncle?" I asked, grabbing the village head's arm. "Your grandma, your dad, and your uncle went into the mountains and didn't come back," he explained. "She sent me to find them. We searched for a long time and found your uncle by the cliff behind the mountain. He'd been hanged for who knows how long. He was already dead." The village head shook his head. "My dad? What about my dad?" "Your dad's fine," he said, sighing. "We found him at the bottom of the cliff. He just broke his leg." Suddenly, he looked at me very seriously. "Jowdy, your uncle died a violent death. Remember, no matter what, you must not keep vigil alone. You must remember this." With that, he went to attend to the funeral arrangements. I didn't understand what the village head meant, and I didn't have time to think about it. I rushed to my dad's room. He was lying on the bed, his face pale from pain, large beads of sweat rolling down his forehead. "Ow, ow." He groaned continuously, his voice filled with agony. His leg was twisted at a strange angle, which was heartbreaking to see. The village's traditional doctor also hurried in and examined my dad's leg. His expression was serious. "This leg is severely broken," he said. "He needs to be sent to a hospital immediately. It's the middle of the night. There's no car," Grandma said, her face filled with worry. "How about you treat him first? Whether it gets better or worse, we won't blame you." Grandma pulled the doctor's arm, urging him to treat my dad's leg. "Sister-in-law, this leg is indeed very serious. I'm not confident," the doctor said, looking troubled. "Don't worry, just treat him. As long as he's alive, we'll be grateful," Grandma said, slipping a small cloth bundle into the doctor's pocket and patting it. "All right then, I'll just try," he agreed. "I can't guarantee he'll be cured." The doctor agreed to treat my dad's leg. He called for my help to lift my dad, but as soon as I touched his leg, he screamed in pain. "Don't move, don't move, you're killing me." His voice trembled. He slapped me across the face. "I saw stars. You jinx. Do you want to kill me with pain? Get out." He was in so much pain he didn't even know his own mother, yet he was still complaining about me being unlucky. Seeing this, Grandma quickly pulled me out of the room. She told me to join her in keeping vigil for my uncle. My dad's howls echoed from inside the room. I knelt in my uncle's mourning hall, a chill running down my spine. If Grandma hadn't been with me, I would have gone mad with fear. Gradually, the sounds from inside the room quieted, and most people had left. Only our family of 3 remained in the quiet courtyard. The only sound was the flickering flames in the brazier burning paper for Uncle. After a restless night, I was exhausted. Just then, the courtyard gate was blown open by a cold gust of wind. I instantly jolted awake. Everything around me was gone. The courtyard, the house, Uncle's mourning hall, Grandma, all had vanished. I was terrified. "Grandma," I screamed. "Jowdy, Jowdy," a woman's voice, familiar, echoed in my ears. I turned around and saw a woman with an impossibly huge belly calling out to me. As I was wondering who she was, she suddenly ran in front of me and, with a distorted face, said, "Run, Jowdy, run." This scene terrified me, and I screamed, then suddenly sat up. The surroundings became clear. It turned out I had fallen asleep and had a dream, but Grandma really was gone. In the vast courtyard, only I remained, along with my uncle lying in the coffin. I remembered what the village head told me. Uncle died a violent death, and I must not keep vigil alone. A chill ran down my spine, coupled with the dream. Could it be that Uncle was going to become a zombie? Terrified, I scrambled to the main hall to find Grandma, but as I was about to push open the door, the conversation inside sent shivers down my spine. "Mom, the doctor said my leg can still heal." My dad pleaded, his voice tearful. When I'm better, I'll continue to go up the mountain to find hedgehogs for you. Can you please spare Jody? I could hear Grandma's deep-seated contempt for me. Dashunzi, your mother knows you're filial, but that good-for-nothing girl has been superfluous since birth, she said. She's eaten so much of my food over the years. Now, let her give her lifespan to me. Consider it her filial piety for you. Mom, she's my only child. You'll have plenty of other children later, but your mother only has one life. Dashunzi, do you want to watch your mother die? Mom, don't forget what happened to your unlucky wife. If she dies, I can live, and that woman will be gone, so you won't have to worry about her coming back for revenge anymore. Grandma continued to persuade my dad. This is the last bowl of soup. As long as she drinks it obediently and willingly gives her remaining lifespan to me, you're still your mother's good son. Shanzi is also gone now. Later, when you earn money, I'll buy you a proper young maiden so you can have more sons. It's worth it for just one good-for-nothing girl to die. Grandma's voice was sharp and piercing, and I heard every word. I understood the general meaning. She wanted my life. The woman who told me to run earlier must have been my mother. She wanted to get rid of my mother. Why? Could it be that my mother didn't die in childbirth as Grandma claimed? My heart pounded as I heard these words. I instinctively took a step back and accidentally bumped into a nearby table, making a thud. Who's there? Grandma snapped. Standing up alertly, I ran out in a panic, not caring that it was dark and the road was narrow, or how scared I was. All that mattered now was escaping. I just ran blindly, not knowing how far I'd gone, only wishing Grandma wouldn't catch me. I ended up crashing into something soft and bounced back onto the ground. You clumsy girl, you almost broke my waist. I looked closely and saw it was Grandpa Quide. Since I was little, my family disliked me for being a good-for-nothing. I often went hungry, and it was always Grandpa Quide who secretly gave me food. Seeing it was Grandpa Quide, my tense emotions instantly broke, and I burst into tears. Good girl, don't cry, Grandpa Quide said. Grandpa Quide knows your uncle is gone and was just about to go to your house. Let's go back together. Saying that, Grandpa Quide reached out to pull me home. No, Grandpa Quide. I quickly pulled away from his hand. My grandma wants to kill me. I can't go back. I quickly hugged a large tree nearby, afraid Grandpa Quide would take me back. Look how scared you are. What exactly happened? Crying, I told Grandpa Quide what I had just overheard. That old hag. I knew she was up to no good. Grandpa Quide was furious after hearing my story. He casually pulled a piece of candy from his pocket and handed it to me. Eat a piece of candy, and your heart won't be so bitter, he said. This was what he always said to me since I was little. Every time he gave me a piece of candy, it was the only sweet thing in my childhood. Then he pulled out a triangular folded charm. He told me it could save my life and to keep it close to me. Grandpa Quide, I don't dare go back. Grandma will kill me if I go back. It's all right, child, he said. Go back and pretend you don't know anything. If your grandma asks where you were, just say I called you out to help me. Remember not to look into your grandma's eyes, and keep the charm close to you. Don't tell anyone. After giving instructions, Grandpa Quide was about to leave. Grandpa Quide, where are you going? I have something important to take care of. You wait for me to come back, he said, and walked away without looking back. I didn't know where to go. Should I go back or find a place to hide? Just then, the village rooster started crowing, and dawn broke. Did daylight mean I was safe? I trusted Grandpa Cade's words and decided to go home. When I reached the front door, no one was in the courtyard. I was about to quietly sneak back into the morning hall and pretend I had never left when Grandma came out of the main hall. You wretched girl, where did you run off to? My eyes darted around. I didn't dare look at Grandma. Oh, I went to the outhouse last night, and on my way back, I met Grandpa Quide. He asked me to go help him with something. Help with what? Just as I was frantically thinking of a lie, my dad called out to Grandma from inside the house. Keep good vigil for your uncle. If you run around again, I'll beat you to death. Grandma glared at me fiercely and then turned and went back inside. I let out a sigh of relief. Luckily, I fooled them. Grandpa Quide was truly amazing. It was as if he knew Grandma wouldn't bother me. After someone dies, the body needs to be kept in the house for 3 days. Since Uncle died a violent death, he needed to be buried as soon as possible. That afternoon, Grandma invited a geomancer to prepare for Uncle's burial. When they tried to lift the coffin, for some reason, they couldn't move it. Several strong laborers were sweating profusely. but the coffin was rooted to the ground. The scene was incredibly eerie. The geomancer said it was a bad omen and they needed to use chicken blood to ward off evil. And indeed, after using chicken blood, the coffin was easily lifted. Uncle was buried. Although Uncle's funeral went without any other incidents, the geomancer's face was grim when he left. He pulled me aside and mysteriously warned me, "If you hear someone knocking on the door at night, absolutely do not open it," he said. "Close your eyes and sleep. No matter what happens, do not open your eyes. As long as you last until dawn, you'll be fine." His words were quite unsettling. That night, I finished my chores early and made an excuse to go back to my room. The more I thought about it, the more my scalp tingled. The geomancer's words, coupled with Grandma, who was always ready to take my life, made me uneasy. I quickly moved everything I could in my room to barricade the door. I pulled all the curtains shut and locked the windows. Then, I hugged a wooden stick and hid in the closet. Waiting was agonizing. I counted seconds, wishing for dawn to come quickly. I don't know how long passed, but nothing happened. My heart slowly relaxed, and sleepiness quickly overcame me. I fell asleep in the closet, clutching the stick. Suddenly, a series of urgent knocks startled me awake. The sound was particularly jarring in the silent night, sending my heart to my throat. I didn't dare make a sound, trying to calm myself by covering my ears. "Joudy, you wretched girl, are your ears stuffed with donkey hair? Can't you hear the knocking?" Grandma grumbled as she went to open the door. Then, I heard Grandma gasp, and then silence. What was happening outside? Who had come? Why was Grandma silent? A string of questions filled my mind. Driven by curiosity, I gently pushed open the closet door and tiptoed to the window. I lifted a corner of the curtain, ready to see what was happening outside. What I saw almost made me faint. Grandma lay on the ground in the courtyard, and standing before her was Uncle, who had been buried that afternoon. Uncle was covered in dirt, his face pale, his eyes hollow. He stood there silently, like a ghost, terrified. I stumbled backward, making a noise. Uncle's head mechanically turned toward me. He seemed to have seen me. I quickly ran back to the closet and covered my head with all the clothes and blankets. I was shaking with fear, my teeth chattering. I squeezed my eyes shut. At that moment, a sliver of hope remained. He shouldn't have seen me. He didn't see me. But less than 2 minutes later, I knew I was wrong. Curiosity really does kill the cat. Uncle began knocking on the closet door. "Joudy, open the door. Joudy, open the door." He repeated this mechanically, constantly telling me to open the door. I didn't dare make a sound. The knocking grew louder and louder. After a few minutes, I heard a bang. It was the sound of the main door collapsing. Then, heavy footsteps echoed, pacing back and forth in my room. The footsteps drew closer and closer to me. I was so scared I held my breath, not daring to even pant. I clamped my hands over my mouth, terrified I'd scream out of fear. The footsteps were now right at the closet door. I felt something blowing air on my head. A cold draft chilled my scalp. I trembled uncontrollably, covered in sweat. I desperately kept my eyes shut. The geomancer said it would be fine if I lasted until dawn. Just as I was losing control and about to open my eyes, a golden light shot out from my neck. The chilling presence on my head vanished instantly, and silence returned to the surroundings. I don't know how long it took me to come to my senses. What was that just now? I quickly felt around my body and found the protective charm Grandpa Quide gave me. It had turned completely black. Grandpa Quide had saved me. Cock-a-doodle-doo. The rooster's crow echoed from outside. It was morning. The tension released from my nerves. I slumped in the closet like a rag doll. My clothes were soaked with sweat. What an exhausting night. "Joudy, Joudy, why are you sleeping here?" I groggily opened my eyes and screamed. "You saw a ghost." Standing before me was Grandma, looking vibrant and smiling. "Last night, wasn't she attacked by Uncle? Hurry, come out and eat. The sun's already high." Grandma interrupted my thoughts. She pulled me out of the closet. The main hall was filled with a lavish breakfast, unlike anything I had ever seen in my life. I hadn't eaten a full meal in days, so it was hard to resist the temptation of such delicious food. And when Grandma pulled me, I clearly felt her body temperature. She was alive. Who cared if she wanted my life? Better to die well fed than to starve. I sat down and wolfed down the food. Grandma sat beside me, peeled an egg, and handed it to me with a doting smile. "Here, eat the egg," she said. "Eat slowly, don't choke." Grandma's eyes were full of concern, her gaze so warm it could melt anything. Was this still my grandma? Was this our last breakfast? Grandma, I'm sorry, I've eaten too much, I stammered, putting down my chopsticks in a panic. What are you talking about, child? Hurry and eat. Grandma can cook more if it's not enough, she said, picking up my chopsticks and putting them back in my hand. Just as I wondered if Grandma had lost her mind after being scared by Uncle, she dropped another bombshell. Your dad died, she said. He's on the bed in his room. Her tone was so calm, as if the deceased was a stranger. I quickly rushed into the room. My dad lay stiffly on the bed, looking as if he was asleep. I touched his hand. It was icy cold. Your dad was taken by your uncle, Grandma said, appearing silently behind me and startling me. I've already taken care of it, so you wouldn't be scared. You stay home, she continued. I'm going to inform the villagers that we'll bury him tonight. With that, Grandma walked out without looking back. Although my dad had never been kind to me when he was alive, out of respect for his attempt to save me, I couldn't let him go messy. I quickly fetched water to clean my dad. I then noticed he was still wearing the bloody clothes he had on when he was carried back. I opened my dad's wardrobe, intending to find a clean outfit for him. The moment I opened the wardrobe, a huge, humanoid mass crashed onto me. Grandma's face was ghastly pale, her eyes wide as if she had seen something terrifying. Her mouth was agape, wide enough to fit an egg. Her skin was cold, without a hint of warmth. Her fingers were slightly curled, as if trying to grasp a lifeline. The moment I was knocked down, my eyes met Grandma's. Instantly, I was pulled into a vortex of memories. My mind replayed events like a movie. My mother, clutching her stomach, writhed on the ground. My dad held a thick wooden stick, hitting her relentlessly. My grandma stood by, egging my dad on. Hit her hard, beat this shameless woman to death for going out and flirting. My dad would stop to rest and smoke a pipe when he got tired, then continue beating her until my mother took her last breath. They might have been scared by my mother's last words before she died. I won't spare you even as a ghost. They invited someone to seal my mother's soul into my body. This person was Grandpa Quide, who I had always thought cared for me so much. Grandpa Quide said that a mother and child duo, transformed into vengeful spirits, were hard to deal with, immortal. The only way was to seal her in the person she cared about most. So, for all these years, I was my mother, and my mother was me. And every time Grandpa Quide gave me candy, it was actually a charm to reinforce the seal. I fell into endless agony. Why did I know nothing about this for so many years? I was already 6 years old then. When I woke up again, I was lying on the bed. Grandma and Dad were gone. An old woman sat beside me. She looked familiar. You're awake, little girl, she said, smiling as she handed me a cup of water. Don't you remember me? The egg you gave me was delicious. You're the beggar woman who tricked me out of my egg. I recognized her. Now, I am your grandma, she said, and her appearance shifted, becoming Grandma's. Seeing her transformation, I became calmer. After all, I had already seen Uncle rise from the dead. What was there to fear from a living, breathing person? This beggar woman is Baisan, a mountain spirit from nearby, she said. You've seen it yourself. Your dad and your grandma were scared to death. But this isn't over yet. Baisan stared at me. I nodded blankly, then shook my head. Your grandma ate my grand-disciple, so her death is well-deserved, Baisan said. But recently, I've noticed a large number of my grand-disciples disappearing. Saying this, Baisan walked to the door and looked up at the sky. Their life stars are dim, she continued. I'm afraid they're in great danger. Just then, a thin figure slowly approached. It was Grandpa Quide. He held a hedgehog in his hand, a sinister smile on his lips. I've searched high and low, but who knew you'd deliver yourself to my doorstep? He sneered. Today will be your end, Grandpa Quide. What are you trying to do? Although scared, I bravely stepped forward and stood in front of Baisan. Her life is mine, and so is yours. Grandpa Cade's voice was like a death knell. I truly didn't understand why the person I had known and who had been so kind to me since childhood had suddenly become like this. Why, Chen Quide, have you finally been exposed? Baisan reverted to her original appearance. The hedgehog in Grandpa Cade's hand struggled even more when it saw Baisan, whimpering as if pleading for help. Grandpa Quide tightened his grip and forcefully slammed the hedgehog against the wall. Seeing the little hedgehog in danger, Baisan immediately flew over and caught it. Just as she was distracted, a large net shimmered with golden light and landed on Baisan's head. The more she struggled, the tighter the net became. Soon, she was trapped by the net, curled on the ground, unable to move. Old hag, this divine net of mine took me years of my essence to refine, Grandpa Quide said, laughing triumphantly. It was just to find you, old hag. As long as I live, you'll never escape my grasp. I'll deal with this little one first, then I'll take care of you. Grandpa Quide kicked by sand and turned to look at me. I backed away repeatedly, stumbling to the dining table, but it blocked my path. There was nowhere left to retreat. Grandpa Quide, why? I cried, looking at Grandpa Quide, hoping he would tell me the truth. I'll tell you why right now, he said. Then, Grandpa Quide tied me up and threw me on the ground. After binding me, Grandpa Quide began preparing the items for his ritual, muttering something under his breath. I looked at Baisan. She used her chin to motion toward the table beside me and mouthed, "Drink it." I turned to the dining table, where Grandma's last bowl of soup sat, but I was tied up. How could I drink the soup? Wasn't this impossible? I started looking around, hoping to find a tool to help me. I saw my hog-raising sickle behind the dining table. Grandpa Quide, I really don't understand, I said, pretending to struggle towards the sickle. You cared for me so much, and you even gave me a charm to save my life. Why is this happening? I secretly began sawing at the ropes. If I didn't save your life, how could it be my turn? Grandpa Quide said without even looking at me. You're cowardly and wicked, Grandma, he continued. She only wanted a grandson her entire life. She came to me to ask me to make her daughter-in-law pregnant with a boy. Grandpa Quide let out a cold laugh. It was because of this that I unexpectedly discovered your extremely precious fate, he said. You were born at an hour in January, a purine girl. If I could swap your fate, I could live forever. He glanced at me. I was terribly nervous, thinking he had discovered I was cutting the ropes, but he continued to bend over, arranging his candles, and rambling on. It turned out that all the misfortunes in my life were caused by Grandpa Quide. Grandma wanted a grandson and sought Grandpa Quide's help. Grandpa Quide discovered my uniqueness and wanted my fate. But one's fate couldn't be simply taken, especially not someone like me. So, something had to weaken my life force, and the best way was to turn me into a vessel. So, when my dad was away, he made my mother fake a pregnancy and spread rumors that the child in her belly wasn't my dad's. Faced with such rumors, plus my mother's growing belly, even baseless claims became undeniable facts. That's why my dad, instigated by my grandma, beat my mother to death. My mother's immense grievances turned into resentment. Grandma and Dad were scared and asked Grandpa Quide to deal with it. He then naturally turned me into a vessel. He also often gave me specially made candy to strengthen my mother's seal, making her resentment stronger, and my life force would be relatively weakened. Originally, in 2 more years, your fate would have been completely mine, he said. Then I could have lived forever. Eating this enlightened hedgehog spirit would have restored my leg to its original state. Grandpa Quide gritted his teeth, hating Grandma. I don't know how that old hag found out, but she also wants eternal life and your life, he said. She doesn't deserve it. Saying that, Grandpa Quide placed the last candle of his formation. She doesn't deserve it, and neither do you. At that moment, I finally severed the ropes binding me. I quickly grabbed the soup and drank it all in one gulp. I didn't know what the soup tasted like. It seemed to bypass my mouth and went straight into my stomach. My stomach began to churn, and I felt nauseous, wanting to vomit, just like the first time I drank it. What did you drink? Grandpa Quide tried to pry open my mouth. I bent over and vomited a lot of white, squirming worms. As I vomited more and more, black mist gathered around me. The black mist struck Grandpa Quide in the chest. Grandpa Quide instantly flew away from me, landing heavily in the center of his carefully arranged formation. He vomited a mouthful of heart blood. The net binding by sand also loosened slightly. My mother slowly materialized from the black mist. Chen Quide, for all these years, I knew you were the one who harmed me, she said, but I was trapped inside my daughter's body, unable to harm you, which is why you've been free for so long. You have consciousness? Grandpa Quide was shocked. Of course, my resentment was too strong. Attracting Baisan, she replied. It was also me who asked Baisan to protect Xiaodi. Otherwise, how would that wretched old woman of mine have known that folk remedy? It turned out that Grandma's folk remedy was told to her by Baisan. The purpose was to let Grandma know my fate could allow her to live and achieve immortality, but what she didn't know was that the soup I drank wasn't a life-swapping potion but a bone-breaking one, capable of dissolving thee that sealed my mother, allowing my mother to leave my body. But that little hedgehog was so pitiful. I thought. Remembering the hedgehog whose heart Grandma had devoured, I felt deeply saddened. It was all an illusion, Baisan said, appearing beside me and stroking my head. Your grandma never ate any hedgehog heart. Chen cried, however, killed a real one. Today, I'll make you pay. With that, Baisan and my mother simultaneously attacked Grandpa Quide. Soon, Grandpa Quide was at a disadvantage. At that moment, he caught sight of me, standing trembling nearby. He turned and lunged at me. A huge burst of energy knocked me flying. The world instantly went black. When I woke up the next day, the courtyard was bustling with people. Grandma stood in the courtyard, directing the villagers to set up a mourning hall. Seeing me, she quickly called out, Joudy, hurry and burn paper for your dad and Grandpa Quide. I quickly ran to the mourning hall. Inside, 2 coffins lay side by side. The people lying inside were my dad and Grandma. I quickly grabbed someone helping nearby and pointed at Grandma's coffin. Look, who's lying in here? Grandpa Quide. This girl must have slept too much. She doesn't even recognize Grandpa Quide, but it was clearly Grandma lying inside, her mouth open, eyes wide, still in the terrified posture of her death. They couldn't see me. I looked up at the living Grandma. She playfully winked at me. After the funeral, only Grandma and I were left in the courtyard. Baisan, where's my mother? I finally asked. Your mother has dissipated. Baisan sighed. It turned out that the moment Grandpa Quide tried to grab me, my mother blocked me, taking Grandpa Quade's fatal blow. It was also in her final moments before dissipating that she used all her strength to knock out Grandpa Quade's 3 souls and 7 spirits. Baisan took the opportunity to collect Grandpa Quade's soul and burnt his body to ashes. That old scoundrel meticulously plotted to harm people, she said. In the end, he ended up with nothing but ashes. He deserved it. Thank you, I said. How can I repay you? I was extremely grateful to Baisan for saving me. You just need to kowtow 3 times at my immortal dwelling, she said, pointing to the spot where I had sat. Then I'll consider you my disciple. Early the next morning, I went to the place where I first met Baisan. I cleared the surrounding weeds, revealing the words on the stone tablet, Tomb of Baisan. With immense reverence, I knelt and devoutly kowtowed 3 times. I sat beside the stone tablet, looking at the village below. I took 2 eggs from my pocket. This time, 1 for you, 1 for me, I said. You can't trick me out of my egg again. From then on, I honored Baisan and became a shaman, protecting the village from evil and misfortune, continuing to pass on those forgotten stories and secrets. The end. Thank you for your support.